This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
And welcome everybody to another Tiny Toons episode of the Animaniacast.
Nana, go down the hole. Bye-bye, Nana. Becky, go down the hole. Toot Toot, go down the hole. Kitty, go down the hole. Bye-bye, Kitty. Ew.
And welcome to another episode of Talkin' Tiny Toons. This is the spin-off series of the Animaniacast. Today we are talking about another episode of Tiny Toon Adventures. We are going to be revisiting all the cultural references and gags, and of course, in the end, we're going to be giving this episode of Tiny Toons a water tower rating. I am Joey, and joining me are my co-hosts in Los Angeles, where he's still feeling the aftershocks of an earthquake. It's Nathan!
Take my brother, please.
True. And across the country in non-earthquakey Georgia, it's Kelly.
Water go down the hole.
Well, this episode is coming out just, a couple weeks after the earthquake, I suppose, or a week or so after. I don't know. It's coming up after the earthquake. But Nathan just experienced his first earthquake in Los Angeles.
Well, yeah. I've been in other ones apparently, but this is the first one I actually felt. So
it's so exciting. So exciting. Even though it happened, in Death Valley, really, but whatever.
Yeah, but it was, you can feel the aftershocks or whatever. I don't know.
There you go. Well, today we're not talking about earthquakes or anything like that. It's, of course, the Tiny Toon Adventures, which features 3 segments. It features Stand Up and Deliver, the Potty Years, and Lame Joke. And boy, this has some very funny episodes, some very funny segments, I should say. If someone were to ask you two about this episode in just a few words, what would you tell them, Kelly?
Baby Plucky.
Okay, very good description. And Nathan, what about you?
The potty water goes down the hole, I guess. It's definitely going to be something to look forward to in this episode.
Absolutely. And this is our last episode reviewing via Skype and everything before we all meet up together.
Ooh.
In San Diego on July 18th over at the Balboa Theater to see Animaniacs live.
Yay!
In concert.
Yes, exactly. And we're so special. We're so special. We have front row tickets. Why? Well, because I bought them quickly.
We pay for them.
Exactly. I know. I could try to say like, oh yeah, they were comped, but no.
We wish.
Yeah, we wish. We pay full price for our things. Because yeah. Well, anyway, this is going to be very exciting. Hopefully, we'll see a few of our listeners there too. And if you haven't bought your tickets yet, I know that Ticketmaster still has them available, and some tickets are pretty cheap. I think some tickets are just $29 or $39 or something. I really do expect the theater to probably sell out before everything is said and done, because of course Comic-Con is going on right next door, so there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, well, Comic-Con's done for the day, now what do we do? Let's go see Animaniacs live. So it should be incredibly fun. If you are one of our listeners, and if you're actually there and you see us, go say hi, and I will have a few Freakazoid Lego minifigs to give out for free. Very exciting.
So I can have one if I...
Sure, you can have one. Why not?
Tell you I'm a listener.
I suppose so, Nathan. You can have one. And we might even have brand new business cards, too, that are colorful. So, yeah.
How much for an autograph on one of them?
Well, we usually do charge, like we said before at Phoenix Fan Fusion, but
Yeah.
you might be able to get out a free autograph from us as well. And, oh yeah, speaking of autographs, that's the other thing too. If you buy any of the VIP tickets, which I think those are a little more scarce, but if they are any more available, I highly recommend getting the VIP tickets at Animaniacs Live, because that, of course, is the way you can get signatures, autographs on photographs or merchandise or whatever, and actually get to meet Rob Paulson, Randy Rogel, and hopefully others as well, like Maurice, LaMarche, and Jeff Harnell are supposed to be there. I think this is going to be our first. This would make sense to have this be our first opportunity to see the stuff from the reboot coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect it.
I would hope.
I mean, it's been so long since they've announced the reboot was happening.
I'm hoping we at least hear who the voice actors are for
Yeah. I mean,
the Warners.
Hopefully,
I think that...
hopefully some of them are going to be standing on stage, too. Wouldn't that be
right?
awkward? And coming up, the new voice of Yakko, Ben Schwartz. Come on up.
Like, what? That would, totally out of left field. Like,
exactly.
No one saw it.
Like, that would be, like, people would be booing in the crowd, perhaps. I don't know. That would be a good idea. So hopefully they announce the voice actors. I think there's, I think we can finally get the confirmation that our original voice actors are coming back.
Yeah.
More on that later. Hopefully we can throw together a quick wrap-up episode as soon as Animaniacs Live is done, and then we'll get that all together. So hopefully, maybe, next week. If not, well, it's because I haven't had enough time from getting back from San Diego to do all the editing. But as soon as we can, whatever our next episode, whether it comes out on a regular release date or not, will be all about San Diego Animaniacs Live. So exciting. So tune in next week for that. But today, once again, Nathan, we're talking about this episode of Tiny Toons. And this is, what episode is this? This is from season 2, right?
It's episode 9. It's the 74th episode overall, but it's the 9th episode of season 2.
Okay. And tell us, when did this episode first premiere?
Okay, so this episode actually premiered on November 22nd of 1991, which was a Friday. It was just 2 days before the lead singer of Queen, Freddie Mercury, died of AIDS, or AIDS-related complications. That was just a day after he made it public, too.
Oh, wow.
So, The Muppet Babies ends its 8th and final season before it would eventually be rebooted in 2018. And it was the same day that the movie Addams Family was released, as well as An American Tail, Fievel Goes West. Yeah.
I love Fievel.
And then Nibel Nose Nest.
And the Nibel Nose Nest came from that, yes.
I get to meet Philip Glasser next week at Fanboy. Well, it'll be... I have met Philip Glasser because by the time this is out, but he'll be at Fanboy Expo, and he's the voice of Fievel. So I'm excited about that.
So if you ever want to know what Fievel would sound like as an adult, now's your chance.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. A lot of good stuff right there. Of course, I loved watching Muppet Babies.
The opening credits was like one of the best things because Indiana Jones and Star Wars.
I know, so many stuff, and who knows? Maybe now that Disney owns almost every movie studio, the chances of it coming out to DVD or Blu-ray are increased a little bit, I suppose. But it's about that. Maybe Disney's been buying up all these movie studios just to re-release it on DVD. Maybe that's been their plan all along.
Well, maybe we'll get like the final. Isn't there still a remaining season of the Muppet Show?
Yes. Season 4, I believe, on DVD is never. They announced it. They showed the cover, and then it never came out.
So was this the Muppets?
The Muppet Show. Muppet Show. like the
So back in the 80s, 70s.
Yeah. Still hasn't come out yet. Oh well. I mean,
Nope.
oh well. And yeah, they're like, we're waiting for DVD to become completely arbitrary, and then we'll release it on DVD when nobody's.
Well, it's like I waited like forever for Young Indiana Jones to come out, and they finally released it on VHS. But then the videotapes were like $20 for 2 episodes. I didn't have that kind of money at that time. I still don't.
Yeah.
And then they didn't even release all of them. I think they mostly released the war episodes, which was fine by me because those were the better ones. Sean, Patrick Flannery. But I had to wait till the whole thing came out on DVD before I finally got it all, because it was just, I couldn't afford $20 per cassette over, any period of time.
Well, you can get, you have to get that physical media. That's the thing with all this moving around. That's for sure. Like I had the DVD.
I mean, now they stream it on Amazon Prime, but
well, who knows? This is on Hulu once again. Of course, you can stream this episode, by the way, on Hulu, or you can get the DVD of Tiny Toons. I believe it's Volume 3. I want to say DVD. I don't know. Maybe it's Volume 4. I have it. I don't look too closely at the packaging. It's one where they're on. It's the one where they're driving a fire truck on the cover for some reason. It's very confusing. All right. So our episode has a bunch of, I would say, interstitial segments. Hosted
Wraparounds?
Yeah, wraparounds. There we go. That's what they're. I think that's what they're called sometimes. Segments here with Henny Youngman. Henny Youngman is the substitute teacher for Daffy Duck.
Welcome to Daffy Duck's Corny Quips class. Today's substitute teacher, Henny Youngman.
Who's there?
And he comes in and proceeds to do a lot of one-liners to the kids in the classroom. And everybody really hates them, except for Hampton. Hampton laughs at them. I don't think Hampton necessarily gets them, though. He definitely does think they're funny, and keeps saying the word practice after his initial explanation of how to get to Carnegie Hall failed.
I should tell you a little about myself. I'm from New York. I played Carnegie Hall. You know how to get to Carnegie Hall?
The expressway, a cab, or the subway.
Anyone else?
Practice.
Yeah, Henny Youngman. Let's talk. Any experience, any knowledge of Henny Youngman at all before this episode, you two?
yeah, I've heard the name, but no.
That's a person?
Yes, he was an actual person. Oh my gosh, yes. I remember seeing him on Johnny Carson, or I think he was on an episode of the Muppet Show. He gave up the famous joke, "Take my wife, please," came from him.
Okay.
He is the king of the one-liners, I believe is his usual title. And I believe, I'm not absolutely certain, but I'm pretty sure he got to start perhaps even in vaudeville. He would bring his little violin out and play a little bit of violin in between some of his jokes to transition from one thing to the next. I was listening to a little bit of his comedy this afternoon on YouTube, and I think the way that they really captured his comedy stylings really well in this episode. In fact, some of the jokes, like the whole diction joke about putting marbles in your mouth and then take one out every day, and then once you lost your marbles, you're a pro. That's actually that's one of the jokes I actually heard on one of his comedy albums on YouTube. So these are all his material.
Wow.
So,
Now, to go on the stage, you must learn how to speak clearly. You go to diction school. They fill your mouth with marbles, and you are supposed to talk clearly right through the marbles. Now, every day you lose a marble. When you've lost all your marbles... I just found a labor-saving device. A rich old lady. A drunk walks into an elevator shaft. He falls down 10 flights. He's lying there bleeding. He says, "I said up." A father was explaining ethics to his son, who was about to go into business. He said, "Suppose a woman comes in and orders $100 worth of material. You wrap it up and you give it to her. Now, she pays you with a $100 bill. As she goes out the door, you realize she's giving you two $100 bills. Now, here's where the ethics come in. Should you or shouldn't you tell your partner?
He seems to have a scattershot approach to comedy. Just throw out a bunch of jokes and kind of say them in the same voice. And if you don't necessarily get one, well, there's another one that's coming up in a few seconds, so maybe that one will make you laugh. But the kids, throughout today's episode certainly did not really like Henny Youngman's jokes. Did either of you two think any of his jokes were funny? Kelly, what do you think?
No.
Not a fan. You're like
Not really.
Babs Bunny right there. Just not.
Well, I'm not much of a joke person.
That's why she decided to be on a podcast with the Animaniacs.
I don't like.
Well,
jokes.
no, I mean, I like snappy dialogue and I mean humor, but I've never gotten much into like the whole stand-up
Gotcha.
Routine kind of stuff.
I gotcha. Nathan, what about you?
Under the feather.
Daffy sent me over here because he was feeling a little under the feather.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I was a.
I like the this guy's got Van Gogh's ear for comedy. I like that one. Or this guy throws himself into everything. Why don't you go find a deep well?
That was good.
See, these are good jokes.
They are jokes.
They are jokes. Well, yeah. So anyway, the "Take My Wife, Please." That's going to go down. I mean, that's a classic joke right there.
Mm-hmm.
One-liner. There we go. Well, after a little intro from Henny Youngman, we have our first segment, and it is called "Stand Up and Deliver." And Stand Up and Deliver was written by Sherri Stoner, and it was storyboarded by Tony Craig, Mark Kennedy, Ash Brennan, and directed by John McClanahan. It's been so long since I've been able to say that. So nice. Anyway, Nathan, why don't you tell us what happens here in Stand Up and Deliver?
All right. Well, we start off in the Acme University cafeteria, and Babs Bunny is practicing a stand-up routine. And it starts off fine. Hampton laughs at her first joke, but then she starts making fun of Quasimodo and the Energizer Bunny, and people don't find that very funny at all. Step over a line. But at the end of the day, they're like, "Oh, you're still making jokes?" And then she's like, "Yeah, I'm practicing for my stand-up routine tonight." And she hands him a flyer with like a silhouette of her on it, which is kind of crazy. What are the odds? And so everyone goes to see her, and they're like, "When will she be up?" And then you find out she's going to be the very last person going up. And she's like, "Hey, I'm the best one. I should be first," which isn't necessarily true at a comedy place.
That's very
Usually,
true.
first ones aren't very good.
I am a squirrel. People say I'm nuts. Thanks, Mom.
We're hearing all the comics, and they're not very good. And, Buster Bunny is not liking it. Hampton and Plucky are all, dying in the audience of boredom. And finally, you're like, oh, here's Babs is like, I must be up next. But you find out it's actually Robin Killems is up next, and he is hilarious.
You're my father doing Shakespeare. Hello, I'm Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark.
He is making all sorts of funny jokes and impersonations, and the audience is dying of laughter. And meanwhile, Babs is backstage getting really scared because she's like, I have to follow this guy? He's so good. But really, usually you want like a good warm-up anyways, so I wouldn't be too worried, Babs. Anyways, she comes out and she has complete stage fright, and she doesn't say anything. And Robin Killems comes back and he's like, "Oh no, I thought I was the last person." So he helps her out, and they're making jokes together. And then the audience is loving it. And at the end, as they're leaving, they're like, "Oh, this is her friends, Bab's friends. They're saying, you are ready for the big time." She's like, "Oh, yeah, me and Robin Killems go way back." And then she's like, "Oh, one more thing." And then she goes back and gives him a hug and says, "Thank you." And that's the end.
Aww. It had such a sweet ending.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, I mean, Nathan, you got the Robin Williams thing. That was, if you didn't get that one, folks, I don't know what to tell you. Very good impression, by the way. That was Maurice LaMarche doing
I was impressed.
And a lot of people, when they do like a Robin Williams impression, they're like way over the top, you know. I really am like, after I heard this, I was like, why didn't he do the voice of the genie on the Aladdin?
I thought too. I was like, he would have been a much better genie on the Aladdin. Sorry, Homer Simpson.
Dan Castaneda. The guy Dan Castaneda, who did the voice for the Aladdin TV series,
and I think the second movie too.
Yes, Return of Jafar. Yeah, he maybe they wanted somebody who wasn't doing a strict Robin Williams impression. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's it. I don't know, but I think Maurice LaMarche did a really good job of not only doing Robin Williams in this, but also doing Robin Williams doing impressions as well. And he also was the announcer for the comedy club as well. And just of note, Maurice LaMarche, I believe, started off as a stand-up comedian. So, you know, little cool little notes right there. And of course, Sherri Stoner, who wrote this episode, I believe started in the Groundlings and then was with her husband did the Acme Comedy Club and things like that. So where people like John P. McCann and Paul Rugg and everything would come to join Animaniacs from there. So comedy clubs are very much tied with Animaniacs and Tiny Toons and things like that. So it was nice to see that as an aspect of this plot. But when it came to cultural references, well, you know, whenever Babs is around going crazy, she's going to be doing impressions. So let's see, I saw Robin Leach. Nathan, you mentioned Quasimodo and Energizer Bunny. She also did a quick Elvis impression. And then they went into the comedy club, and there were these caricatures, animal caricatures of famous comedians. There was a squirrel who was doing his Emo Phillips impression, which I thought was quite good. I don't know if either one of you are familiar with him. He had a brief part in the movie UHF where he cuts off his finger.
I remember him. It was very funny in that.
Lots of times when my students... Whoa! What? Oh. Do you believe this? Oh, will you look at that? Oh. Just call me Mr. Butterfingers. I think it's on the floor somewhere. Oh, is my face red? Oh.
But yeah, so anyway, that's Emo. Then I have Roach Man. He calls himself the Roach Man, which I guess is like the Dice Man, or whatever, Andrew Dice Clay.
I'm the Roach Man, and you're a bunch of... Bada bing, bada boom.
Who was recently seen in A Star Is Born as Lady Gaga's dad, I believe.
Oh my goodness! I just watched that, and I had no idea.
Yeah, I believe I'm right now. I feel like I'm like, am I right? But I'm pretty sure I'm right. Anyway, somebody Google that while I'm talking. Anyway, so but he did a lot of offensive comedy. A lot of his jokes were just really lots of profanity in them. So go figure that this one has a lot of bleeps in it, which I thought was quite funny, especially when you saw Buster and Hampton and Plucky, just their eyes bugging out to his profanity. And then they had a walrus comedian who, I don't know if he was trying to be like a Louis Anderson guy or just a fat comedian who just talks about how they're fat.
I'm so fat, I'm fat.
Which, I don't know what, I just hate all comedians that are fat and they just talk about how they're fat. Like, I get it. You're fat and you're fat. Yes. Whether you're fluffy or whatever. It just, I don't know why. Anyway. I liked that little segment because I hate comedians who just do that. Anyway. And then there was finally like a little help me reference right there to The Fly where Babs was in the fetal position, saying, help me. Like in the movie The Fly, which from the 1950s, which no one's really familiar with today. Well, that's that for the cultural references. Let's talk about things that we thought were cool. Kelly, let's start with you. What were some moments that really stood out for you?
I like the Energizer Bunny reference, primarily because you know where I'm going with this.
I think so.
Okay. Primarily because it reminded me of the commercial in the late 90s with Darth Vader and the Energizer Bunny, and the Emperor would be like, get his battery. And it was so funny. And I really liked that. And
back in the days where you didn't see Star Wars like much at all. And it was a huge deal.
Anytime you did, I'd be, in a different room or upstairs, and I'd hear Star Wars or Vader or something. I'd go running down the living room. Star Wars. Change it back. I just heard Star Wars.
Yep.
And if my parents were changing the channels, they'd have to change it back to what it was over here on Entertainment Tonight or whatever. And then I liked the Robin Williams comedian because I love Robin Williams and Hook and Aladdin, and he was just great and talented and incredible, and it was kind of nice seeing an homage to him.
Totally. It really did seem like it matched up with a lot of things that people would say about Robin Williams being a very kind person, and nice to see that nice to see that Robin Killems in this was not a jerk. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been really bad. And by the way, he also said, good morning, Acme Acres, or good evening, Acme Acres. I don't know what he said, but...
Good evening, Acme Acres!
But everyone laughed at it.
Yeah, so like, good morning, Vietnam. There you go. So
I was like, that's not a very funny joke. I mean...
They laughed at everything.
It was an easy crowd. But yeah, you would think he warmed it up for, Babs would have really appreciated it, but it did. This episode did remind me a little bit of Miss Maisel on Amazon now. Have either of you watched any of those seasons?
I've seen the first episode or two, and it's a good show.
It's such a good show. It's such a
marvelous
show.
Miss Maisel.
Yes, you should see that. You should see
Plan
that.
to. I've just been watching that stuff.
It's on the list, but it's definitely a good bingeable show. Totally good. And felt very much like a story that you would see maybe on the actual show of Miss Maisel. But Babs did it first. That's the whole inspiration to the marvelous Miss Maisel was this episode.
Makes sense.
Oh, and of course I should mention one last cultural reference before we get to the next thing is the title itself, Stand Up.
Yeah, I was going to mention that if you didn't.
Stand Up and Deliver for Stand and Deliver, which that's the, I forget, that's not the Morgan Freeman one, is it?
No, it's Edward James
Olmos.
Olmos. Yeah. He's the Robin Williams character of this, I guess, because he helps Babs with comedy, just like Edward James Olmos helps them with calculus.
There we go.
It's all connected.
According to legend, General Grievous was known to boast of the number of lightsabers he had acquired from the bodies of his slain Jedi enemies. Grievous was the first in a long tradition of collectors of rare items. A tradition that continues to this day on the Retro Zap podcast known as the Dork Lair. Dork Lair.
Hello, everybody. Say, do you like the Animaniacast? Well, I hope you do, because you've been listening to it for about a half hour or so. Did you know that you could actually get paid for listening to this podcast? I know it sounds insane, but it's true. We discovered a free new app called Podcoin, and it literally pays you to listen to podcasts. You can listen to our show or any of your favorite podcasts, and you earn Podcoin while you listen. And then you can turn that Podcoin into Amazon gift cards or Starbucks gift cards. Or if you're the charitable type, you can even donate that Podcoin to charity. So here's what you do. You download the Podcoin app on the Apple App Store or on Android, and I have a special code for you. Simply use our code Animaniacs, and you'll get 300 Podcoin just for signing up if you use our code. So go ahead and give the Podcoin app a try today.
Konami has 2 very cool Tiny Toon Adventures games for Sega Genesis and Super NES.
The animation gives you
A real cartoon feel. On Super NES, play Buster Bust Loose, Spin Kick and Mad Dash to 11 toony levels. Sound great? On Sega Genesis, play Buster's Hidden Treasure, an island adventure
to find the fortune before
Montana Max.
Play a tune on Sega Genesis or Super NES.
What are you looking at? Get your own games.
Alrighty. Well, let's go ahead and get to our next segment, and this one is one that I'm sure everybody remembers. This is the Potty Years. And the Potty Years was written by Tom Ruegger. It was storyboarded by Ken Boyer and Alfred Gimeno, and it was directed once again by John McClanahan. Another Star Toons cartoon. All of these are Star Toons. Whenever you see John McClanahan, it's Star Toons, I believe. Well, Kelly, why don't you tell us what happens here in the Potty Years?
Well, baby Plucky, we go, adult Plucky is remembering, his childhood, and baby Plucky is in the bathroom with his parents, and they're explaining to him that he's 3 years old now, and it's time for him to learn to use the potty. He doesn't want to wear a diaper his whole life, does he?
You don't want to wear diapers forever, do you?
Yes, sir.
So they're showing him the toilet, and he's pretty hesitant about it, and they show him how it flushes, and he doesn't like that. He says, it's too loud, it's too loud.
It's too loud.
It's okay, hon.
It's too loud.
Don't worry.
It's too loud.
So they're kind of trying to acclimate him to the sounds and everything about the potty. So when he finally starts to get more interested in it, and they let him flush, and he gets really excited, and water goes down the hole, and he's super, super excited at this point. And so they leave him alone in the bathroom.
Which is what the first thing you always do with a young child when you're potty training them, right?
Yeah.
Goodness.
You got this.
I mean, he can't even get up on the potty by himself. Hello.
Well, he's gifted.
So,
he's gifted.
Yeah, that's what they say. So they show him the toilet paper, and you use a little bit of toilet paper. You throw this in the potty, and so they leave him alone and say, flush and use the paper and get rid of the dirty diaper. And he starts putting things in the toilet. It starts, pretty simple. He's putting some toilet paper in the toilet, and water goes down the hole.
Toilet painter go down the hole. Bye-bye, toilet painter.
And then he starts looking for anything else he can put in there. He puts in Nana, his bear, and he puts in Toot Toot, a little boat from the bathtub, and I think there's a little duck or something that he puts in there, and it just starts throwing things, and they surprisingly all go down the hole. I don't know how they all fit, but they do. And then he puts in his diaper finally, and diaper goes down the hole, and then he's starting to look bewildered because stuff's not going down the hole anymore, and he's like, water goes down the hole, and the bowl starts filling up with water and keeps filling up, and then it overflows, and he starts panicking and jostling the toilet handle and trying to get it to stop, and it's pouring out everywhere, and his parents are like, are you okay up there? He's been up there an awful long time. Maybe we should check on him. Really, you think?
Want to go down the hole?
Ducky, is everything all right up there?
I want to flush it again.
No, you've flushed enough, son.
Want to flush it again.
He's been up there quite a while.
We'd better check on him.
They come up the stairs. They're already wading through water, and he locks the door. This is why you don't leave 3-year-olds unattended in the bathroom. And they demand that he opens the door, and they get the door open, and they finally get in, and it's like all of a sudden the mom realizes that there's water everywhere, even though it's all in the hallway too. And she's like, I've just redecorated. And
oh no! And I just redecorated!
Finally, the stuff starts coming back up out of the toilet. The toot comes back up, and Nana comes back up, and even the diaper comes back up out of the hole. And the clog's finally gone, but there's water everywhere. And we go back to adult Plucky and see that he's still wearing a diaper, and he goes in the house, and you hear his father's like, stop flushing the toilet. So apparently he never got out of the toilet flushing phase.
The end. And according to this, apparently teenager Plucky likes to wear diapers too over the weekend or something like that. I don't know what's going on.
That's more information than I needed.
Exactly. That looked a little... that was a little disturbing right there. But...
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Well, anyway, that's the Potty Years, and of course, this the biggest reference is really in reference to a true story, and I'm going to go back to referencing an old episode of our show when we had this is 68A from back December 31st of 2017. We interviewed Tom Ruger along with Nate Ruger, who voices Baby Plucky in this, and as well as Luke and Cody Ruger. We talked to them all about working on Animaniacs and things like that. But this particular story, it goes to a little story with Cody. And so I'm going to go ahead and play a little clip of that right now.
And I wanted to mention that Cody, the whole story of him, the plot behind the original Baby Plucky cartoon of Water Go Down the Hole, you see, I take credit for writing that script, but that's really unfair because every line in that script is literally out of Cody's mouth when he was a little guy. Water Go Down the Hole. I pushed the button, but I flushed the potty. No, you flushed. I flushed. It's all from Cody. So he got really obsessed with the potty, of flushing the potty, and I think I mentioned this before, guys, but we're at this very fancy hotel in New York City. It was New Year's Eve, and Cody locked himself in the bathroom and started flushing this potty, putting toilet paper down this potty. And then we had security knocking on the door about midnight because the apartment, the room below was getting flooded because Cody had overflushed the potty.
Oh.
It was horrible.
So there we go. It's based on a true story. That's our biggest reference, I suppose. Other than the Wonder Years, which Plucky mentions sort of at the beginning, was very, reminiscent of the Wonder Years, which I watched almost all the episodes in that series. I don't know if you two were familiar with that series at all growing up.
I didn't watch much of it. Like, I feel like I'd see like the beginning of it, and then something else. We would change the channel or something. I don't remember much of it.
Nathan,
I remember like Fred Savage was in it and everything.
Nathan, I know we used to watch at our house, but you might have been a little too young to really remember watching any episodes.
Yeah, I remember like the nerd that reminded us of our dad.
Oh, yeah. What was it was Kevin was the boy, and his friends, I forget his friend's name. Everybody thought
Winnie was
there was Winnie was I had the biggest crush on Winnie Cooper. Paul, I think his name was Paul.
I think that's right.
But yeah, Paul looked a lot like pictures of my dad when he was in the 50s and 60s. Like, oh my gosh, it's Dad. Which, and then of course there was rumors for years and years that was Marilyn Manson. Young Marilyn Manson, which is not true, by the way. It's not true, but that was a big rumor around my high school for many years. Anyway, well, what did you guys think of this one? Let's start with you, Nathan. What are some moments here in this Potty Years cartoon that stood out for you?
I liked the way Plucky calls things different things, like toilet Peter. Is that what he calls?
Yeah, toilet painter, I think is what he says.
Painter, yeah, painter. Just very funny words, and water comes back. I don't know. Just Nate Ruger is very cute in this, and I am impressed at all the work.
Well, and you can't really blame him for the clog or anything. Number one, like we said, he was left alone in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Number two, his dad told him to get rid of that dirty diaper. So he what do you do if you're? Of course, you would throw it down the toilet right there. I particularly like the part where he locks them out and they're like, "Open the door right now!" And he yells at them, "I want to flush it again." And the way that Nate Ruger said that line, it is so cute and so funny. Just hilarious.
Plucky? Wanna flush the potty?
Open this door right now.
I wanna flush it again.
Kelly, what about you?
I also like the toilet painter. I thought that was really cute, and how he named everything. Toot toot the boat and all of that. It was just cute, and I liked the voice.
Yeah. He was animated so well too. Like when he laughs and he just giggles and like kicks his little feet up and dances around and everything. It just felt very like genuine. Like just everything was the sync was really good and all of it. The little slow down moments of the when he gets like wet and he's going ew. I don't know. The whole thing is just so cute and so funny.
You sit down right here, and then you...
Ew.
And, of course, we would later come back, and it was so popular that a sequel segment was set up with a whole elevator go down the hole, too. So, this is so good it deserved a sequel. So there we go. Well, we got one more thing to talk about, and that of course is Lame Joke. And Lame Joke was written by Shecky Hollander and Boom Boom Stoner. I believe that's Nicholas Hollander and Sherri Stoner, by the way. The story was Nicholas Hollander and Kevin Frank. The storyboard was Alfred Gimeno, Randy Haycock, and Flammer. Oh boy, this is an interesting name. Flammarion Feria. Boy, oh boy. It was directed by John McClanahan, and this is basically all about Buster. Buster has this great joke. Babs tells her joke, which is, it's okay. It's fine.
So why did the chicken cross the schoolyard? To get to the other slide.
Hampton, Plucky, they really think it's hilarious. Buster has his own joke.
There was a pig, a rabbit, and a duck, right? Is this one of those species jokes? A pig, a rabbit, and a duck go out in the woods on a picnic. And which hand did they eat their soup with? Huh? Neither. They used a spoon. Get it?
Nobody really laughs at it. And they call it a lame joke, and wouldn't you know it, out from the bushes comes an actual clown, which symbolizes the lame joke. He's on crutches, and his nose even falls off. He really is a lame joke. It's so sad. Well, Buster tries telling the joke a couple more times, and it's not working out. And so they take the joke to the hospital. Henny Youngman makes his appearance once again and tries a few one-liners to try to resuscitate him.
Are you live or on tape? 2, 3, 4. Is this thing on? I've got good news and bad news. The good news is your joke died. The bad news is, who cares?
So the joke is dead, or as Babs puts it, put out of its misery. So they have a funeral for the joke. And Buster kind of says, nobody really liked it, but it was my joke and I really liked it. And it was at that moment after they kind of discuss it, and Hampton all of a sudden gets it and then says it, and then they all start laughing at the fact that, they would use spoons, not their hands, to eat soup. It's so funny that the joke jumps out from the grave and is alive, and everyone's happy. And of course, they close out with one little thing, which is throughout this entire cartoon, there's this little clown that kind of makes his appearance in the background from time to time. And eventually they go, "Who's that?" And it's a running gag.
Who is that? A running gag.
That's that. Well, what did you guys think of Lame Joke? Kelly, let's start with you.
It was kind of lame.
Well, there were some little funny moments, right? There were some little things.
The running gag was
the
cute.
running gag. Yeah, I shouldn't expect you to love it that much, since you said at the beginning of this episode that you're not really a joke person. So, but Nathan, what did you think about it?
I liked the MASH kind of scene, or at least it reminded me of MASH.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it was supposed to be, but
yeah, maybe it was like the hospital scene.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because he does because they told jokes in MASH when they operated.
Yeah, MASH would be a kind of a comedy. I've only seen a couple episodes. There was like thousands of episodes. I feel like
no,
right?
MASH. When I was a kid, if I saw MASH come up on the screen and that slow music, I knew it was time to change the channel.
I did the same thing. I never watched it, but my boyfriend has like the whole series, and he loved it. But his sense of humor is very different from mine.
So there's 251 episodes of MASH. I just wanted to look it up real quick.
Wow.
Lord. Well, let's talk about some of the quick cultural references in it. There's not too many in this one, but they say, somebody call 911.
911.
911. 911. 911.
That's the Three Stooges right there.
Hello. 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 Hello.
George Burns as a chimpanzee came by at one point after the joke died. Nathan, do you remember George Burns at all?
I do. I remember him in the Radio Land Murders.
Oh, that's right. He was in that. That was probably his last appearance before he...
I forgot. I literally haven't seen that since it came out, so...
I think it gets too much bad press, or I thought it was a decent movie.
Yeah, it's fine. It was fun. Like, it's a fun
It was really
movie.
hyped up at the time because it was a George Lucas project.
Yes. And but yeah, it's very much a George Lucas project in the fact that George Lucas wanted to make a movie about something that many people don't care about, but he thought was good because he wants to see it, and he's an eccentric billionaire who will make movies and products about whatever he likes to do, and if you don't like it, then
good
it's fine.
for him, though.
I agree.
If you have the money and
He's the richest independent filmmaker in the world, you know? Anyway, that's pretty much it when it comes to references. I mean, there was possibly a Vertigo thing with the whole whirlpool thing going on. Kind of reminded me of like the poster Vertigo, perhaps. They mentioned Freddy Krueger, but, you know, whatever.
oh, you stole my reference.
Oh.
I thought that was fun. That was funny.
That was funny. Okay.
It was so unexpected, like the mention of Freddy Krueger in this cartoon. But I love Freddy Krueger, so.
Did you happen to catch the tombstones in the
knock knock jokes?
Yeah, the knock knock.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
I like the knock knock. Who's there? No one. I'm dead. Puns, which it wasn't a pun. Which that kind of
I didn't
upset
understand
me.
that one. That was the one I didn't like. That tombstone.
I didn't
It was like I'm fine with the other ones.
Yeah.
Don't like puns.
Don't end with puns because that's not a pun. I'm sorry. Well, anyway, that's pretty much it. Any other moments? I have one additional moment I thought was great, and then we'll close it out. But any other moments from you two?
No. I don't know. I can't think of anything.
The only other thing I thought was of note was when Hampton says, "Is this one of those species jokes?"
Oh yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, that's always the trouble with telling jokes with friends, is that your friend can really surprise you with some kind of weird ethnic joke that you're like,
oh boy,
no.
I assume like the rabbit would be like a rabbi, and it's supposed to be
the priest, the rabbi, and the
someone else
comes into a bar
and miscellaneous. Yeah.
I don't think those are told as much anymore. I don't think, but I don't know. School. It seems like the jokes that kids tell each other now, at least the ones that I see, are just memes. You know, like literally, that's what kids will do. When I ask them for a joke, they will say, "Oh, let me look up Google Images memes for a joke." That's what they do. But I empathized. I had to say, I empathized with Buster Bunny on this because at my school we did the daily announcements and we do a joke of the day, and I either have the kids in the student news do a joke, or I will get up on the thing and do a joke myself. And it gets the biggest groan, and people just go, "Oh, that was so terrible." But you know what? At the same time, kids will come up to me throughout the day and try to give me their jokes that I can say the next day. So it's kind of the love-hate relationship I have. I think we all have with jokes like Buster's, is that it's so bad. But let me tell you one that I think is good. That that's also bad, but I think it's funny. Anyway. So that was lame joke. Let's go ahead and get to our water tower rating. Well, what do you guys think? Out of 5 water towers, how many would you give this episode of Tiny Toon Adventures? Nathan, let's start with you.
I'm going to say 4 water towers.
All right. Why do you think that?
Because it's a really good episode, but like probably not the best episode. I mean, really, it all just goes to the Plucky, the learning to use the potty. If it was just that segment, I would give it like 10 water towers. How many is it? But yeah, so 4 water towers, because the rest of it's like fine. Like I enjoyed it well enough, but overall, it's forgettable compared to the Plucky segment. So
well, the other segments though did have a theme, though. I thought you would appreciate, with the
that's
whole
true.
comedy.
I do like all jokes. Yeah, it's true. Like the Plucky one, it doesn't have the same theme that the rest of the cartoon has.
Right, which it kind of sticks out because of that, but
That's
whatever.
true.
It's so good, so whatever.
It's just so funny. It's so funny that
Yeah.
I'll stick with 4 though. I think
Okay.
that's fair. Yeah.
All right, Kelly, what about you?
I'll also give it 4, mostly because of Baby Plucky. Like I said, the last episode didn't grab me all that much. I thought the Babs comedy was kind of cute, and particularly the Robin Williams bit. So I'll keep my 4.
All righty. Well, I will give it 4 as well for all the reasons you guys mentioned. It's a real solid episode of Tiny Toons, and of course the Baby Plucky Potty Years is a classic. So gotta give it at least 4. I'm gonna give it a strong, solid 4 Water Tower ratings. So there we go. Well, I think we should, before we close everything up, let's go ahead and read one quick review from our Apple Podcast reviews. Ooh. That's right. And if you feel so inclined, you can also rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts. And there's other places that you can rate and review, but Apple Podcasts /iTunes, even though they don't want to call it iTunes anymore. Apple Podcasts is really the place to go.
That's where we'll see it.
Yeah, that's where we'll see it. Maybe in Stitcher, maybe. But this is a very nice, sweet review. I think we'll close with this before we go away. This says, astounding podcast. 5 stars. And this is from Music is Life 2016 from Canada. And it's from, and her name's Caitlin, actually. So, Caitlin from Canada. She says, hello, Joey, Nathan, and Kelly. I must say that as someone who pretty recently discovered podcasts, especially ones about cartoons and voice actors, such as Talking Toons, I'm very glad that I found the Animanicast. As a 90s baby, I was born in 1992. I only ever watched Animaniacs when it would air on Teletoon Retro, here in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. Sadly, that channel isn't available for my satellite provider anymore. However, since I found the Animanicast, I've been able to picture the episodes that you guys discuss in my imagination. Each and every episode of Animaniacs is my favorite, each for different reasons, but if I were to list all of the reasons, well, you would have a novel to review. And she says, keep up the great work, you three, and thank you so much for helping me reconnect with my childhood and the special memories that it holds. And then she put a yellow heart, which she puts in parentheses, yellow hearts, to me, are friendship hearts. She says, and thanks again, Caitlin Ward. So thank you very much, Caitlin, for that very sweet review. We very much appreciate that. So thank you so much. Yay. Well, let's go ahead and get to some contact information. Nathan, where can people get in contact with you online?
Okay, well, hey, I'm on Twitter, folks. JangoFT, that's me.
All right. And Kelly, what about you?
I'm on Twitter at YodaPrincess, YODAPRNCSS, or email me, Kelly at BigShinyRobot.com.
All right. And as for the Animaniacast, we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And, of course, on Discord. We're over at the Retro Zap Discord server. And you can get a welcome link and talk to us about Animaniacs or whatever pop culture things you want to talk about. With the Retro Zap folks, you can get a welcome link by going to discord.animanicast.com and join the discussion, whether it's about this episode or other episodes or, quite frankly, video games with the ARGcast or Star Wars with any one of the other Star Wars Retro Zap podcasts or superhero podcasts or whatever. In fact, there's so much great content on Retro Zap. What you should do is just subscribe to the Retro Zap podcast feed on your favorite podcast player, and then you can get every single one of these awesome Retro Zap podcasts delivered almost every day straight to your device. It's like free entertainment, and who doesn't love free things? I challenge you. Who doesn't like free things? Nobody. That's who doesn't like it. So anyway, hit us up, discord.animanicast.com. Well, that'll do it for today's episode. So, for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast unless otherwise indicated.